Hi everyone, how are you? My name is Jake Vassello, and I wanted to summarize a study written by Sean Valentine, Lynn Godkin, and Margaret Lucero in December of 2012, titled Ethical Context, Organizational Commitment, and Person-Organization Fit. So the question for this that prompted this entire study was, does a company's ethical context correlate with how fit a person is to work at that company? So there were three hypotheses, and they were kind of in an if-then form, and by that I mean if the third hypothesis could only be true if the second was true, and the second could only be true if the first was true. So the first hypothesis is that corporate ethical values are positively related to a person-organization fit. And that means that a person is more fit at a company if they agree with the rules and policies at that company, and those rules and policies are clear. The second is that corporate ethical values are positively related to organization commitment. This means that a person that agrees with those rules that are clear is more committed towards working at that company. And the third is that if a person is more committed to working at that company, they are more fit to work at that company. So to answer that question, a questionnaire was made. 418 participants were selected, and the selected information is on the chart to the left. Just know that 314 questionnaires were discarded because they were not properly filled out. So there were 304 questionnaires studied. To the right is the information more related to the questions, still in the census type format. There were full-time and part-time employees from all different company sizes and industry types. So there were about 20 questions in the questionnaire, and these first 5 question the corporate ethic values, the first hypothesis. Just know that all of the questions were a 1 to 7 scale, 1 being strongly disagree, 7 being strongly agree, and about a 3.5 is neutral. As you can see, so the question is in the middle of the screen. To the right of that is the mean of all the questions answered. And to the right of that is a standard deviation. As you can see, the means to every question is significantly above a 3.5. So everyone, or at least the average answering the questions, felt strongly that the rules were positive at that organization and that they followed them. The second hypothesis follows the same pattern, and if you look, the means range from a 3.61 all the way to a 5.37. Once again, every number was above that 3.5 mark, so it showed that employees agreed that they are more committed towards relationships where they like the rules and agree with the rules. And by rules, I mean rules and values. And finally, the questions related to the third hypothesis follow the same trend. The average is around a 4.7 or so for every question answered, and it just shows that employees agree that if they are committed towards the organization, they are more fit to work there. So the results were broken down mathematically through AMOS software to study the hypothesis. So the coefficient alphas for the ethical values, which was the first hypothesis, was a 0.07. The coefficient alphas for organizational commitment and employees' organizational commitment was a 0.93. And the coefficient alphas for the third hypothesis, which was whether or not they are fit to work there, was a 0.91. Following this, the chi-square statistic results was less than 0.0001 for all 3 hypotheses, which was deemed as statistically significant. This shows that all 3 hypotheses were supported. So now that we went over all of them being supported, we have to figure out why it matters. This study shows that if an employee agrees with the values shown in the organization, both by the rules as well as management actions, they're more likely to show commitment towards the organization and more likely to be fit for that job in that company. This information is consistent with what we learned in Chapter 3 of the textbook. Anderson wrote that within organization, groups that fight create competition within each other, and that is a major problem organizations are facing, and these fights are usually caused by some kind of confliction between the person's values and the organization's values and the management's values. Basically, employees that agree with the values set in the company are better employees, stick with the company, and are more fit to work there. Like all studies, this one has limitations. The first is related to the participants all being young adults. And the second limitation regarding participants is that it is not clearly stated how the participants were chosen. From the writing, it seemed like they were randomly chosen, but it wasn't clearly stated, so there is some chance that it was misleading. Another limitation is that the questionnaire was self-reporting, which could lead to some bias. There was no check with peers reporting for that participant. And finally, the questions all showed a positive relationship between, and by positive I mean optimistic relationship, between the answers and agreeing with the rules. And by that I mean all employees that said they agreed with the rules were more committed and more fit to work there. But the opposite was not shown. There was no averages less than that 3.5 mark that showed that a company disagreed with the rules and also was not fit to work there and committed. So it's kind of that there was not that check there. It shows that one way works, but it does not show that the opposite does not work. So that is the end of the presentation. I just have a parting question, and as shown, I'm just curious what methods stated in the text could an organizational psychologist use to ensure their clients are aware that corporate ethical values must align with employee values. Anderson goes over how to talk to clients and how to resolve issues with them, and I could see this being a topic that some clients and managers are stubborn with, stating that employees may need to just suck it up and agree with the company's policies even if the employee itself doesn't agree. So let me know what you think. And finally, here are the references. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to your answers.